Hotty toddy, gosh almighty, the Ole Miss fight song, and there's a good reason we have the Ole Miss fight song playing on Hot News Talk Radio. Is it Clutch with Keon Rose? No. That's our sports show from 1 to 2. But you're listening to AM 1240. My name is Mr. Judd. I know everybody's going, wait a minute, what happened to Pat Rose? Well, we have such an important show that we're going to interrupt Pat Rose today because I am on the radio with a once player for the Ole Miss Rebels, a football player. He was a long snapper, and he also played on the offensive line, Duke Nukem, and he is with P5 Preparedness. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Hello, Duke.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, and we played the Ole Miss fight song in your honor.
Well, I appreciate that. That's
even though
good way to get things going here.
I'm an Arkansas fan, and I know it was not a beautiful game, not even a pretty game. Maybe it would be called an ugly game last Saturday, but we did get a win.
You did, but we're not here to talk about that.
No, we're not. We're talking about being prepared in case your team loses and all hell breaks loose. We're really not even going to talk about that. We're going to talk about being prepared for what could come in the future, whether it be a natural disaster, an economic disaster, or whatever. And that's what Duke's specialty is to talk to people and to teach people. And it's really an undertaking that he has taken and his store takes. So Duke, kind of give us a little background about you, and then let's talk about getting people prepared. And I like your opening line. You have to use your opening line because it's perfect.
As I was getting ready for this, I try to think about what I want to say, how I want to say it to people. And really the only way to say it is just to say it exactly as it is. And I am not politically correct. I may say stuff that offends you. That's not my goal. You may be offended. And if you are, well, that's your problem.
Too darn bad. Right. That's right. I agree. I like that.
The reason I think that, I've from the old Blues Brothers movie, I have told people I'm on a mission from God.
There you go.
And my goal is to help people. And if I have to worry about whether I'm going to hurt your feelings or if sensitivity is a big thing for you, I can't help you, and you probably can't be saved in the. And
what we're talking about, really, I mean, you it's not something you can be politically correct and talk about. They need to know the facts, and then I'm not going to say in their face, but you really have to present it in a way that they understand how important it is.
Absolutely. There's people that come into our store and they will say, had a person come in yesterday, for instance, that was here for another reason. They're not a prepper, but they needed some of the.
What is a prepper? Because what is a prepper? Because I think people may think it's several different things, but let's get a definition of a prepper.
A prepper is somebody that is preparedness minded, and being preparedness minded is that you think about the risks that are out there. For instance, bad weather, tornadoes. The South is somewhere that does get hit by tornadoes, and a lot of people don't realize it, but November is the third busiest month for tornadoes in the South. And so how do you prepare for a tornado? Well, you buy a weather radio, for one thing. You watch the news, you listen to the news, and you figure out whether you're going to be in the line of fire. My wife grew up in Indiana. She was always worried about tornadoes. Her mom had, Tim, get the blanket. Jennifer, get the flashlight. Stephanie, my wife, get the bucket. My wife would get sick during storms. So That was her thing to do.
So a prepper is someone that is, not only prepared, but prepared for what may happen and what happens, after something like that happens.
Exactly. If you look at the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, what happened just a few years ago, Hurricane Sandy in New York, where those people were in dire situations after the fact, and the government wasn't there to help them. The FEMA is really just there to provide money. The state emergency management agencies are really there to provide money and guidance. It's up to the local communities to provide disaster response. But the time to be ready is before the disaster, not after the disaster.
And I think that's very important. And Duke is one of the owners of P5 Preparedness, and that's off of East Brainerd Road. Give the address and phone number right quick.
Yeah, sure. The address is 1309 Panorama Drive. It's in Chattanooga. The phone number is 423-602-2175. We're about a mile off of the interstate on East Brainerd Road, and you'll see the big green deuce-and-a-half Army truck parked out front. I was
going to say, you've got the greatest advertisement and sign there is. You can't miss it on Brainerd Road. If you're going east on Brainerd Road from 75, it's on the right there. All right, so I'm a novice. I kind of have a sense of what's going on with being prepared. Duke, kind of take me by the hand and walk me through this.
There's one of the biggest things with preparedness is the mindset. You've got to have the right mindset, because when things go wrong, hey, you've got to deal with it. You can't hide your head in the sand. You have to be able to deal with what's coming. A couple of points there. There's a news story from 2008. It was February. There was a person that was running along a mountain trail in North Carolina in a state park. And as February happens, there's cold weather, there's ice, and bad weather moved in. And as the person got back to their car in the parking lot, they realized that they had locked their keys inside. And being bad weather, people weren't going to be coming around to check on the parking lot. And so this person did what a lot of people would do, probably. They sat down next to the car and cried until they froze to death.
And that sounds, but that, I would say that happens a lot when, because you're not prepared for something like that. What would you do? I mean, what would your first thought to be? No one's going to brown. I've given it 30 minutes.
Well, I'd break the window out.
There you go.
You're in the woods, in a nature trail. There's going to be a rock. There's going to be a
piece of wood. It could be
piece of wood.
Your shoe.
Worst case scenario, my elbow.
Yeah.
And you've got to get through that, because you've got to live. And sometimes we're just a little short-sighted to some of those things. To contrast that, there was a story from a few years ago, and it's been a recent movie, 127 Hours. Aaron Ralston was hiking in a rocky area in Utah, and a boulder came down and trapped his arm in the boulder. And he was stuck. He waited 3 days, 4 days. Nobody came. Nobody was helping him. He had run out of water. He really had no choice left except to do one of two things: either cut his arm off or just wait for him to die.
Yeah, or die.
And he chose to cut his arm off.
Well, I think it's so important what you said. And I like, I asked that question, and I was almost prepared for him to say, well, the first thing you need to do is have 5 gallons of water. But the first thing he said was mindset. And I think that's what you teach. I know y'all do workshops and stuff like that, but mindset, having your mind prepared for something like that, is the most important thing.
Absolutely. And that is somewhat of an easy thing to overcome, though most of us struggle with it. Part of it is procrastination. There's a lot of us that are fat just because we can't get out of the easy chair.
Right.
I'm not saying anything about people that—
Are you pointing your finger at me, Duke? Now, come on now.
Well, I kind of resemble you a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But you got to get out of the mindset. There's a thing called a paradigm where you are in your routine. We all have a paradigm. It's what we do every single day with that routine. Well, sometimes we are forced out of that paradigm. For instance, if you drive to Chattanooga from Ottawa every day, you go usually the same route.
Right.
A lot of days you run into traffic jams, and you can do a couple of things. You can take a detour. Maybe it's a traffic jam because of a car accident or something.
And you get off the exit of 75 and you go a different way.
Right. And so even while you're taking that different way, that's still a part of your paradigm. Well, what if that car accident happens right in front of you?
What would you do? Or
what if you are in that car accident and it's a serious car accident? We're not talking just a fender bender. Your car's upside down or something like that. Or, it's somebody somebody who's hurt. you have to react.
Right.
And so what are you going to do? Do you know first aid? Are you going to be able to put a fire out? Do you have a fire extinguisher in your car? These are the things that you can do ahead of time to be prepared for an emergency.
And these are things that could very likely happen to you, but because of your mindset and maybe, maybe you've gone to one of your workshops, or you just come in and talk to you guys. You come in and have a conversation with you. It has someone thinking to put them in the right mindset.
Absolutely. I've been doing some form of preparedness for close to 20 years as a hobby. Some of my experiences when I was in the Army, when I was in college, there were things weather related that have made me realize that, I have to take care of myself. I have to take care of my family. And so you really have to think ahead. When I started preparing 20 years ago, it seemed like the only people, and back then it was survival. We didn't say preparedness, and it was always the crazy Vietnam vets or the guys that live way out in the country that stay to themselves. Those were the guys that were into survival.
And you were a survivalist, not really a prepper.
Well,
wasn't that kind of the way that people looked at? They're survivalists,
right? Survivalists, and they're all crazy.
Yeah,
that was the thing. The thing with it,
but after you go through a Katrina or a Sandy, and you see it, you knock the media, like the media, or whatever. But when you see that happen, it really brings it home that I need to get in that mindset that this could happen in here or anywhere.
Yes,
maybe I'm on vacation.
Absolutely.
I'm in a foreign country. I'm in Mexico, and they get hit by a hurricane. And I don't have the things that I would have at my house to be prepared. But as Duke said, your mindset.
Absolutely. The mindset is really the key. And I started going down that path a little bit, talking about procrastination. There are some other things in there. Exercise is key. You got to be in good shape. You have to really be prepared to deal with the things that you have. And if you deal with those things in a proactive manner, if you plan ahead, you can really make a difference in what you're doing. Planning is the key. Part of the name of P5 preparedness is proper planning prevents poor preparedness. And planning is the key part of that.
I like that. Say that again.
Yeah. P5 stands for proper planning prevents poor preparedness. And it really should be P to the 5th power, but that doesn't sound good. Doesn't roll off the tongue.
No, it doesn't.
And,
I like P5. I think you got a great catchy name. P to the 5th power. Now we're on the David Tulis show.
Exactly.
So let's go P5.
Yeah. So just, we plan all the time, and we may not take it as far as preparedness, but let's say we were going to drive to Knoxville. We're going to catch a football game.
Okay.
Who's playing up there this weekend?
I don't know. I'm not a UT fan, so I'm guessing it may be UT, maybe Tennessee Vanderbilt.
Okay.
So let's say you and I are going to the Tennessee Vandy game.
Right. And so what are some of the things that you would do, Eric, before you go to the game?
Well, the first and foremost thing I would do is make sure I have my tickets.
Right.
Okay. And then I would probably make sure I have plenty of gas in the car, probably take a water to drink, make sure that I know where I'm going to park. And then you help me out here.
Yeah.
But that's preparing. That's a mindset to prepare.
That's exactly right.
Something simple like that.
What's the weather going to be like? You can check the weather. Is it going to be cold? Is it going to be raining? Is it going to be hot? Maybe I need sunscreen. Mm-hmm. Are there any other events going on in Knoxville that day? If you've ever been in a town when the president flies in, traffic shuts down. So there are, and that's just an easy example.
And that's a mindset of being prepared, which people do all the time. They just don't realize it. Maybe they do. I mean, that'd be our mindset to be prepared to go.
Right. Absolutely. Those are things. A lot of people these days, they don't know how to change the tire on their car.
I would agree.
And, you have AAA, you've got friends and family, you've got a cell phone that's right there that you can call somebody.
Maybe, one of the things probably would be just making sure that your cell phone's charged. I know a lot of people that will leave, I didn't charge my cell phone.
Well, if you look at cars these days, you've got 6 or 8 different places where they put the spare tire.
That's right.
If it's in the pickup truck.
And then it may be a different place where they put the tools to take the tire off.
Absolutely.
You are listening to P5 here on Hot News Talk Radio, and Duke is educating us, and we're going to come back and talk with him just in a little bit. But you are listening to the Ole Miss fight song here at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. Why? because we have an Ole Miss Rebel in the studio. Duke from P5 Preparedness is here, and that's exactly what we're talking about. We want you prepared for whatever may happen, and that's exactly what Duke's going to do. Duke, interesting analogy that you did with let's go to the game and how the mindset and being prepared for even before you leave to go to the game, and you translate that into maybe something catastrophic happen, you should have the same mindset.
Sure. Well, let me ask you a question, Eric. Do you have insurance?
Yes.
What kind of insurance do you have?
Auto, homeowners, life insurance. I don't have pet insurance.
You know, not pet insurance?
No.
That's available for you. There's also, different kinds of
health insurance. I have health insurance.
Absolutely. There's dental, vision.
Right.
There's a few other kinds. You can even get rapture insurance these days.
Really?
That's so
rapture
if when we're all raptured to heaven,
right,
and your pets don't go with you.
So it's to take care of the pets, not the other heathens you leave behind.
Right. Yeah. You find one of those guys, and they'll gladly take care of your pet for you. A lot of us
so the pet guy is saying he's not going to heaven. He's just selling you this insurance saying I'm not going to heaven. But you should be prepared with insurance.
Absolutely. What about extended warranties? If you buy a computer,
right,
we get extended warranties. We get you buy a TV. Heck, if you buy a coffee pot, a lot of us will spend the money for that.
Well, your phone every month. A lot of times you'll buy a warranty or insurance on your phone in case you run over it with your cars.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for our computers, we all know computers are going to crash. So we either have a flash drive or a backup drive.
Right.
So we understand that things go wrong. We have these different concepts. We have these different insurances that things are going to continue. But the average American has less than 2 gallons of water and 3 days of food in their home. And of that 3 days, a lot of that is the condiment.
Right.
And that's not real food. So how is
it's not sustainable food?
Right. Absolutely. So why is it that we think about all these other things, but we don't think about if the power goes out, we don't think about things like that. We've got to be able to feed our families.
Right.
And so that's where this preparedness thing comes in. What are the things that are going to disrupt our lives where we're going to need to have certain things put back? And so I look at power failures for one.
Okay. Because that's a reality around here. We have our power lines are above ground, and there's tons of trees in this area.
Absolutely. You have just a thunderstorm, and the power lines, the trees come down, and you're without power for a few days. Well, if you look back at 2009, I was living in Western Kentucky, and we had an ice storm that was coming in.
Right.
And we knew it was coming. We had days to prepare ahead of time. Being a prepper already, I had a lot of stuff ready to go for that. And what we didn't know was that in my area, my house, we were without power for 10 days.
Wow.
So that's a long time. And because I had taken some steps ahead of time, I had a generator. I bought a house that had gas coming to it, and thankfully the gas wasn't cut off. We had a gas hot water heater. We had gas heat. And so with very little disruption, we were able to continue our lives. Well, there were other people in that area that didn't have that availability. Even the cell phone towers, the cell phone systems were knocked out. So we had no landlines. We had no cell phones to call for help. The roads were
10
iced.
days is a long time.
That's right. The roads were frozen solid for over 48 hours where people couldn't get out. They couldn't get rescued. So, they're predicting a rougher than average winter this year. Who knows? That could happen here.
Clinton's emails coming under more scrutiny.
Fox News has learned that
normally hits at this time. I guess it didn't take it out.
Her aides or her attorney were not forthcoming with the FBI about her emails, their classification, and whether only non-government records were destroyed.
Fox Radio's John Decker. In Iraq, ISIS said to be losing ground to the north as Kurdish officials announced their forces are in control of an important highway and have isolated ISIS members in a key town.
The Operation Free Sinjar began at about 6:50 a.m. local time as 7,500 Peshmerga troops, supported by U.S. airstrikes, began their assault on the city, approaching it from 3 sides. The Pentagon have said they launched 20 strikes in the first 8 hours, killing 60 to 70 out of an estimated 700 ISIS fighters who are in the city.
Fox's Benjamin Holland, jobless claim applications unchanged last week. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Now, Duke, that's a perfect example of why you should be prepared. See, something like that hits you out of the blue. The news, Fox News walks in here, starts doing news, knocks us out of the blue. But that's a perfect example why you should be prepared, because sometimes you have the opportunity if you see a weather event happening, and then sometimes you don't.
Absolutely. There's some things that you cannot really, in a sense, anticipate. If you look up in, I think it was Wisconsin or somewhere, there were 2 train wrecks this week where there were oil was spilled, and there's fire, evacuations. And so that's one of the reasons why that we tell people at a very minimum, they need to have a 72-hour bag ready to go. And it's not for one person, it's for each person. You know, there are certain things that you're going to have.
And I think that's a good point, because I've heard all my life, you need to have a to-go bag. But I really never thought of it needs to be for each person in the house.
Absolutely. We live in an area where there are 2 interstates, you know, Highway 27. There are a lot of things like there are, I don't know if people realize this, but there is nuclear material that comes through here every day. It comes from Western Kentucky. It goes down to the Port of Savannah. So I-75, I-24, there's a lot of hazardous materials.
We live close to a nuclear power plant where, you know, heaven forbid, something could happen there.
Absolutely.
I mean, Sequoia is right here in our back door.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going off memory, but I think the type of reactors that are in this area were the same kind that were in Fukushima in Japan.
That is correct. You are correct there.
And so, hey, things go wrong. You know, cars break down, stuff happens. You know, I don't always trust what the government tells me. I don't want to say that I'm a paranoid guy. You know, a lot of preppers get the bad name or the bad reputation of being paranoid. But when I see things happening that just don't make sense to me, you know, I have to think about that. And, you know, there's a lot of things in the world that are going on, from, you know, wars overseas to there's just been, you know, missiles tested off the coast of California. We've got a really bad economy where we're $18 trillion in debt that's admitted.
Well, July the 16th, we had an attack in Chattanooga. On the 15th of July, who in their wildest dreams would have ever thought that we would have had a terrorist attack in Chattanooga at any time? And I mean, it was just, you know, it wasn't like bringing down the towers, but it was a significant attack that you need to be prepared.
So it can happen here.
Yeah.
You know, and things do happen. You know, Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong, it will. And so that's the idea behind preparedness. It's not that we are thinking that everything's going to go bad, but what's the hurt of putting a little bit of food back that is only for emergencies, or putting some extra lighters back? I don't smoke, but I probably have 40 lighters at the house. I also know another 8 or 10 ways how to start a fire. You know, the one of the P's in P5, I somehow wish we had have gotten it in there, is practice, because it's difficult to learn to do some of these things if you've not practiced. And so just like starting a fire, you know, when I teach somebody how to start a fire, it's not getting some sparks. It's not lighting a piece of paper or a stick on fire. It's keeping a fire going for 5 minutes, because that's on average, that's how long it's going to take to get a fire going that you could boil some water with or cook with. And so there are a number of other things that you need to work on and practice. That's part of that mindset. That's getting off the couch. That's doing some things. You know, if you DVR the football game on Saturday and you skip through the commercials, you just saved yourself an extra hour.
Right.
If you're watching the CBS game on Saturday, that's an hour and a half.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there. But you know, I think you're right, because, you know, you can be prepared and you can know how to do this, but it's like any skill. If you do not practice that skill, you are going to lose it.
Absolutely.
You know, and no matter what you're doing. And, you know, maybe you were a Boy Scout or some other organization, and you learned how to start a fire without, you know, materials such as a lighter or matches or whatever. When was the last time you've done that? You know, you're my age, you know, you're 29 years old, my age, or just a little older, but when was the last time I've done that? Well, I couldn't tell you.
Right.
Not because I don't want to, because I don't remember.
Right. Well, for me,
so practice is
absolutely. For me, it was last weekend. I was burning some leaves. Yeah. And it took that as an opportunity to practice starting a fire. You know, so you can make opportunities and still get other stuff done. You know, one thing about PEEP 5 preparedness is that we are here to help you. We do consulting. We will help you prepare for what you're concerned with. A lot of people are, just not concerned about certain things. Well, that's fine. But a lot of the things that we teach, like water purification, that has numerous.
That covers the gamut of a lot of things.
Absolutely. And we have a number of classes that we can help people with. One of the basics is an intro to prepping class. It's like anything. People have to start somewhere. We know that. We are more than happy to talk to individuals, small groups, civic organizations, churches. We want to help you with either the small stuff or the big stuff. We can do both. We have classes on pail packing and food distribution. Those are one of our more popular ones because we can teach you how to pack a 5-gallon pail and have it last for 20 years instead of just a year or two out of the can. We do first aid, CPR, AED for certification because those are really important skills.
Yes, they are.
We can teach you to get your ham radio certification and how to use that radio. And one of the things we're going to talk about in a little bit here, the things I brought to demonstrate was the Baofeng UV5R radio, which communication is really a key. In a disaster, you have to know what's going on.
And you need to be able to communicate maybe with other people, maybe family members.
That's right. That's right.
Or friends or something. Now, the training you do, go ahead and go through your list because I want to know where you do the training too.
Sure. Yeah, we do different kind of bags, from get home bags and bug out bags. And a lot of people just plan on staying in their home for an emergency, but you never know what other people are thinking, and they can work to get you out of your house. Or you may just decide that your house isn't livable anymore. And, or maybe your house is the one that got hit by the tornado and you got to go somewhere.
Or maybe the train derails, a half mile from your house and you can't get to it.
That's right. We also have more of the outdoorsy type classes, map reading and land navigation, basic survival, fire starting. We do an intro to campcraft, and campcraft is kind of a silly name, I guess, but it deals with the stuff you're going to need to know if you're camping out in the woods.
Right. And if you have to go live in the woods.
Fire starting, how to tie basic knots, how to build a survival shelter, and also how to use a knife. You can use pretty much a regular knife for cutting larger sticks and wood, but you kind of have to know how to do that.
Right. And where do you do these things? I mean, I know you have a nice facility right there in East Brainerd, and give your information right quick so people know where to call or where to go if they want to come by.
We've got a classroom at our store on Panorama Drive, and the address is 1309 Panorama Drive. And really where we are, we're on East Brainerd Road. It's at the corner of East Brainerd and Panorama. And so if you take exit 3A off of I-75, that's East Brainerd Road. If you go up east,
you're going east on East Brainerd, like you're going in the heart of East Brainerd. You can't miss the best advertisement and sign in the city.
Right. We've got a big green Army deuce-and-a-half truck parked out front that's got our sign on it. And come on in. We're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7. If you want to learn about our classes, you can go to Facebook. Our Facebook account is P5 Preparedness. You can call the store at 423-602-2175. That's 423-602-2175. And we're also on the internet, and our website is p5preparedness.com.
And that's p5preparedness.com. So there's really no reason you can't get in touch with these guys. And you do the training there. Do you ever go out and do training maybe at a church or take people in the woods? Do you do anything like that?
We do all of the above. We've been to private businesses. We've been out in the woods. We've got a training location that's west of town. And you can really do everything that you'd want to do preparedness-wise out there. And the classes at the store are great as well. And
how long is the typical class? Are we talking 8 hours, 2 days, 4 hours, an hour?
Most of our classes are 1.5 to 2 hours.
Okay.
It's usually a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. We have some longer classes. The
Right.
CPR.
I'm guessing if you're going out in the woods, it's going to be a little longer.
Those are usually 1 day to 2 day classes.
Yeah.
And the CPR first aid class is 6 hours. The ham radio class is 5 hours. And the thing that's nice about that ham radio class is that you buy the book, You study for the class for a week or two. You get a 4-hour review, and then you can actually take the certification exam.
Oh, wow.
And if you're really smart, you can do it all in one day. We've had people that do that. And I always tell people to study a little bit ahead of time, so that way they know what they're getting into when they get there.
And you know, ham radio, how long has it been around? How long has the ham radio been around? I mean, it's been around a lot longer than we have.
Absolutely.
And it's still a viable, important part of communication.
And with the test, you don't have to know Morse code anymore. They took that off the test several years ago.
Which is probably a bonus.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you only need a 70 to pass the exam. So you don't get extra credit if you make 100. The important thing is to pass. And, you know, there are other places that you can take the exam, and there's probably better ways to do that. We are not trying to make you a ham radio expert. I love the technicians that are out there that have been through the different levels. They provide an invaluable service, especially in emergency management. But we're here to help you with emergency communication. We think that doing it the right way is important, and that's why we offer the technician exam. But the important thing, again, is that you do it.
Now, any of the classes you give, is there an exam after that? Is it only just for the ham radio, or any of the other classes you do a review or exam or anything, like, you know? The
first aid CPR class, there is a test, but you're getting certified through the National Safety Council for that. And that's a requirement. And I can't think of any other tests that are out there.
You do the knot tying class. You don't have to say, we got to, tie this horse up and he can't run away for an hour or something like
exactly.
that.
But with the intro to survival class, what we're doing is we're teaching you skills where you are going to be building a shelter. You're going to start with building a fire. You're going to start with, knocking some sticks down that you're going to make a shelter out of, and then you're going to tie them together with your knots. So if you've not learned to tie knots, you might be really cold or wet that night.
You're absolutely correct. Hey, you're listening to Duke with P5 here on Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. And you can pick us up on the TuneIn app. It's a free app, whether you have an Android device or you have an iPhone. It's free. Just download it from the store and then type in Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. Listen to us anywhere at any time. Follow us on Twitter at Hot News Talk Radio and on Facebook at Hot News Talk Radio. Make sure that you go to YouTube and type in Hot News Talk Radio, because Duke has brought some items to show you. And we're going to talk about these items, and we're going to talk about how you can save some money on these items. The Ole Miss fight song. I bet $100 to a donut we are the only radio station at this point playing the Ole Miss fight song. And the reason we're doing it is because we are joined by Duke with P5. And, man, if you missed the first couple of segments, you need to go to YouTube and watch them after we finish here. And you've brought some, I won't say props, I won't say toys, but you brought some interesting things that we need to talk about, and talk about a special that you have for our Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240 listeners today.
Absolutely. What I brought, three things. I brought a book. I brought there's the book. The book is from James Wesley Rawls, How to Survive the End of the World as We Know It. That is really
an REM song.
It is from at University of Georgia. But
there you go. That's a Southeastern Conference.
There you go. And it's a really well-written book. We recommend that to everybody that's getting into prepping for the first time.
So if you're a first-timer, this is a great book to start with, and you sell it there at your store?
We do.
Okay.
And the author has a very popular website called survivalblog.com, and Survival Blog has been around for a number of years. The writer of the book is really one of the leaders in preparedness. And it's a good book. And the key, don't focus on, how to survive the end of the world. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the end of the world as we know it. Things could change. We could be in some bad straits for a while. If you look at the threats that have just been on the TV about Who makes our computer processors? Well, that would be China.
Right.
And the Chinese hackers hit us all the time. What if they hit a nuclear plant and they shut it down? We would be without electricity for a while.
The young adult that does the digital drive, who comes up after us from noon to 1, if all of a sudden his cell phone service went out, he would think that that's the end of the world. It's all relative to what it might be to a lot of us, but I'm sure he would too.
That's the world.
So, an excellent book to start out with, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yep. What else do we have? We have
the next thing we have is the Mini Sawyer water filter. And this is a fantastic product. It's very easy to use. First of all, the price, it's $25. We've got a special, the book and the water filter, both. If you go to the store, you tell them that you heard about it on the radio, on this radio show.
On Hot News Talk Radio, say, hey, I heard you on the radio show.
It's $40 for both.
And Duke will even sign the book for you and give you an autograph.
I will do that. Usually that's extra, but with it's a radio special.
Normally $100 if he signs it.
I have to pay people.
Yeah, there you go.
So the water filter, what makes it so good is it'll filter out 100,000 gallons of water. And that's for the price. You can't beat that.
No.
And with this, it comes with a 16-ounce water bag, and you put your dirty water in that.
So you could get, literally, and I know David Tulis is going to get on to me for saying literally, but you could go to a dirty water puddle, take the water out of that, and this would filter it to be able to drink with.
Yes, we have demonstrations at the store where we'll encourage people to throw in whatever they want. They'll throw cigarette butts in there, they'll spit in it, they'll get dirt, and then one of us from the store will drink the water because it's perfectly clear. It is good stuff. There's other products on the market, and they'll advertise for the same price, but they only filter out 350 gallons of water.
Right.
That's hardly even a camping trip. 100,000. That's 3 backyard in-ground swimming pools.
Wow. That's a good way of putting that. That's a really good way of putting
that. So if you can drink one of those in your lifetime, I will give you your $25 back.
There you go.
And so you've got the water bag. It'll hook up to a 20-ounce water bottle.
The bag is in here?
It is.
Yeah.
There's it'll hook to a 2-liter water bottle. And there's also a straw that's included with that. So you can drink straight from the filter that way. You can hook it up in line if you wear a hydration pack on the back. So it's a very, very good system. And so a lot of people worry about it clogging up. Well, it comes with a large syringe. So you suck up some clean water and then you back flush your filter and you keep going. Very good to use.
Yeah. And that's one of the things you would need in your quick pack to go, correct?
Absolutely. You don't know what's going to happen. Those folks were stranded on the interstate in Atlanta last year for 10 or 12 hours because of a snowstorm.
Right.
With that, you can let the water melt from the snow and you have something to drink.
Absolutely. Now I like this. This is explain what this is. It's not just a walkie-talkie. I know people, if you're watching on YouTube, you may say, well, they're holding up a walkie-talkie. Big deal. No one else has a walkie-talkie.
Right. Well, this is the Baofeng UV5R radio. And there are really a lot of great features with this. By calling it a radio, yes, that is true. You can tune in FM radio on that.
Okay.
But really what it is, it's a two-way transceiver. So it's a walkie-talkie. You can talk to other people on it. And the range just out of the box is about 3 to 4 miles, but you can also program frequencies into it. And so at the store, we program in several ham frequencies in there in the 2-meter band. And so it'll hit most of the 2-meter repeaters in this area. They're within the range of it. And the reason that we put multiple frequencies in there is because if you were to drive from here to Nashville or here to Knoxville, you'd want to tune in to what's happening in that area.
Yeah.
And so you can't pick up the Nashville repeaters here with this radio. But if you drive to Nashville or if you have to walk to Nashville, you could listen in on that radio. And so there are also frequencies in there for the FRS radios. There are different frequencies that you can listen to so the radio functions somewhat like a scanner. If there's frequencies that are available.
So it's constantly going out and searching for those frequencies. So you're not having to search it on the device here.
If you program it in there, you can program, I think it's about 124 frequencies into the radio. And for just monitoring, you can get about 24 hours of use out of the battery. We sell different batteries that can be recharged straight from your car.
Right.
And the kit that we have, it comes with a charger. It is a rechargeable battery, but we really tell people they need to get a system where they can use AA batteries that are rechargeable. You can put rechargeable batteries in radios, in flashlights, in lanterns, in a lot of different things. And so if you get things that are AA, you have one battery that you need to recharge instead of getting, well, this one's a 9-volt, this one's AAA, this one's a D. If you get all the same battery, you can use those batteries more often.
Okay. And now these three items, we're talking about the radio, we're talking about the filter for the water, and then of course the book. You would say these are the three starter items you would need.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, you might want to throw a fire starter in there. That could be a lighter or two. But if you have nothing, this is the best way to start. You know, the average person in a survival situation needs a minimum of 1 gallon per person per day.
All right. Your basic bag that you keep in your car, what does it have in it that Duke keeps in his car?
I've got a large first aid kit.
Okay.
I've got the water filter.
Okay.
The book's not in there.
No.
But,
you probably wouldn't have time to read a lot.
No.
Yeah.
No, I've got.
You need to read it before all this happens.
I have a couple of flashlights. I've got one that is handheld, and then I also have a headlamp in there.
Okay.
Spare batteries. I've got a notepad and a couple kinds of pens. You need to write stuff down.
Right.
If you hear something on a frequency, or if you get important information.
Yeah, that's very important.
I have a map of the area.
I like the headlamp because you may not be able to hold the flashlight when you need it, and the headlamp makes it hands-free for you.
Especially if you're doing some sort of first aid stuff. It's one of the things I learned from my days as an EMT. You know, by having a headlamp, I have 2 free hands.
Right.
The essentials, toilet paper, duct tape, those have to be in everything.
Water.
Water is very important. I keep a 32-ounce Nalgene bottle with me at all time. I have a couple of snacks. I've got some peanuts.
Right.
I've got a couple of power bars. Yeah. Yep. Peanuts might not be good for everybody if they have allergies or something, but put what you like in there. Lighter for fire starting, and then I've got a couple of different backup things for fire starting, and then like a poncho, one of those silver space blankets.
Yeah, just something to keep warm if you have to, especially this time of year. Okay, when's the next class at P5? When do y'all see your next class coming? Do you have them every week, or do you schedule them, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have classes every week, and probably the best opportunity to get plugged in every Thursday night. That would be the next opportunity. Thursday night.
Is that tonight?
It's tonight.
Okay.
6:45 until 9 o'clock. Sometimes it goes later, sometimes it's earlier, but we always have, every Thursday night, we have a network meeting.
Okay.
And it's open to the public. There is no charge for that. We cover a range of topics where we might talk about water storage or water filtration. A month ago, we talked about chickens, how to raise and keep chickens, and the benefit.
So you have a different topic every month.
Well, it's
tonight at 6:45. You said?
Yes.
6:45 to 9.
6:45 to 9.
Where will that be?
It's at the store, the P5 Preparedness Store,
and that's off of East Brainerd. If you're going east on East Brainerd from 75, it'll be on the right-hand side, right past Subway.
Absolutely, yeah. Call the store, talk to Seth or Keith. The store phone number is 423-602-2175. That's 423-602-2175. And we're not new to this preparedness thing. Between the 3 of us at the store, all 3 of us are military active duty veterans. And we've got over 30 years of preparedness experience. We've got a variety of unique backgrounds, but the most important thing is that we're all there to help you. And
make sure you go in and ask for the Hot News Talk Radio special, which is for $40. You're going to get the water filter and the book. And, I would like to thank you for your service, Duke, in our military, and a belated Happy Veterans Day from yesterday.
Hotty toddy.
Yeah, hotty toddy, guys. That's what it is. Hotty toddy, gosh almighty. He is an Ole Miss Rebel. Actually played for Ole Miss in the middle of the late 80s, I guess.
I was a walk-on. But
you played.
I was there.
You practiced?
You
played? You wore the uniform, correct? There you go. You did a lot more than I did, even though I'm a Razorback fan being from Arkansas. Thank you so much.
Talking about that.
Thank you so much for being on Hot News Talk Radio.